Hello, everybody. What's up? What's happening? Fear Dragon, did I unmute you?
I don't know. Did you?
Absolutely did unmute you. Fantastic. Then we're already firing on all cylinders tonight. Boom, nailed it.
It's a good start. It's definitely a good start.
It's a great start. It's a fantastic start. It's better than our pre-show start. That's...
You know, you might even say that we are basically an Archon in and of itself because we're casting Archon mode tonight, man.
Wow, I was... Sorry. Apparently you're leading the show, so continue.
Oh, well, I mean, I just wanted to say that we're casting some really awesome Archon mode matches tonight. Some 2 best of 3s, including some of my favorite players, including Mooskills, who has not been playing as much Starcraft as in competitive matches as I would like. So this is like my next Mooskills fix.
Yeah, who's he playing for, Fear Dragon?
He's playing...
Without looking, who's he playing for? What's the collegiate team he's associated with?
He's playing for University of Wisconsin, man. All right? He's playing for University of Wisconsin.
I know that UW probably stands for University of Wisconsin, but the correct answer was Madison.
Madison, Wisconsin. Okay, you know, Madison, Wisconsin. It's a pretty cool place. And they're going to be playing versus Ryerson University, which should actually be pretty interesting. I'm not too familiar with either of the players from Ryerson, but I can say that one of their names is going to be impossible to pronounce. So we get to make up however we want to pronounce it.
Allegedly, Ize, however you pronounce that name, is one of the best players in Toronto, self-proclaimed. I don't know if that's an actual truth statement or not, but in the Starcraft 2 chat, so it's being said. But yeah, Fear Dragon pretty much hit on the head, guys. All teasing and silliness aside, we are going to be casting 2 best of 3s tonight. They're going to be Archon mode matches, and the thing that I rather enjoy is I thought we'd come into the CSL and I wouldn't recognize anybody or anything. But we got Mooskills to start. Oh, my green screen's rocking it. Mooskills to start. And then I believe it's supposed to be SWS maybe playing after. I don't know who's on the second team. I think it was like Moss or somebody. I've heard rumors. I'm not familiar with the teams at all, guys. Their first season of doing CSL, but I do know I think it's Zerg Girl and SWS are gonna be in the San Jose State. I don't know about Washington though. So I mean, the reality is, here's what's great about this. Not just like Archon mode in general, but these Archon mode matches. Archon mode in general, for those who are unfamiliar with it, is a mode where 2 players basically get to control 1 team together. Now, if actually communicating and synergizing, this goes really well. You can say, all right, hey, Fear Dragon, my partner, I'm going to continue building things with macro. You go micro things on the other side of the map, so I don't have to worry about bouncing back and forth between 4 locations. And that teamwork makes for a high level of gameplay. A really good personal example of this is I would never, in my entire life, not even cheesing it on the beta, cut it for Grandmaster League. But together, me and Zombie were able to hit Grandmaster League pretty much no problemo. So even the worst players, case in point, can still perform well if teamed up with another good player. So while we know Mooskills to be the best player of the 4 that are playing first, that's in 1v1. If he tries to play a little too much control, if he doesn't synergize well, that could actually hurt more than help. And if he wants to play 1v2, well, frankly, we've seen people try that, and nobody's been very successful at it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the metagame also shifts in terms of what kind of strategies you go for, because when you have so much more APM, you can go for kind of much more APM-intensive micro options and harassment options that you just never could have even imagined trying to go for in a normal 1 versus 1, because you just couldn't, you straight up could not handle having to do that many actions. But on the other hand of what we were talking about with the Archon mode stuff is that, you know, you can have some really great pairings, but you also need to make sure that you are comfortable with your partner, because I can tell you guys that Rifkin and I have done some Archon mode together before.
I did not reference this for a reason, Fear Dragon.
I mean, I just wanted to point out that, you know what, sometimes it's really important to trust your partner, because if you don't have that level of trust, if you don't have
Dragon, trust is something you have to earn, though, my friend.
Then you can find yourself in a little bit of a doozy. Sometimes you're not going to be playing the best game. So it's really cool when the teams actually do have those 2 players that actually do click well together. That's why it's actually really impressive when even sometimes, you know, they do the really awesome stuff, but even doing the normal stuff is actually sometimes more difficult just because you have to coordinate with another human being. It's not just you by yourself with your entire game plan in your head.
Yeah, well, one really good example, by the way, guys, of like not coordinating well, and this took a while for me to get used to. Not using you for your dragon, I promise.
Okay, okay.
Is actually the supply depot is my favorite example of this, because we've seen pros do this as well as amateurs. Both players will go to close the supply depot, and both players, one will cause it to raise, the other will cause it to lower again, and it's just, if you don't have that communication, if you're not synergized, bad things can happen.
Yeah, really, really terrible things. I think those are actually some of the most memorable ones. Another one that I always like to reference is there's a drop going in the natural expansion and the main base with Widow Mines, and one player decides, let's send all of our workers to the main base because there's a drop in the natural. And the other player thinks the exact opposite, and they just both end up sending each other's workers to the other set of Widow Mines, and they end up losing all their workers. So great stuff like that can happen. But you know what? I expect that these guys have at least practiced a little bit. I know that these guys have both played, or I should say all four of them have already played a couple of Archon mode matches for the CSL. So should be pretty cool to see like where they're sitting at and what kind of strategies they're going to be going for. One other kind of interesting note about Archon mode, for those who are unfamiliar with it, is that you end up having a lot of people who are comfortable pairing with another player that is a totally different race. So sometimes like a Zerg player will end up doing the micro for Protoss, even though they normally play Zerg. Because, you know, I tend to notice that like a lot of the times the macro player is the one that sticks with the race that they usually play. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, but I've also played with a fairly limited amount of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. But we are.
Well, I mean, like, so my example is like Desro is a Protoss player main, and he could play macro for the other races, but nowhere near as well as he did when they played Protoss, right? Like, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, looks like we got the lobby set up, good to go.
Mm-hmm. I think we still need to make it Archon mode, though, right?
Yes, it's on 2v2 because they don't know what they're doing.
Well, you're the host now, so
yeah,
it's all on you, man. What are you doing?
Well, you're not supposed to be up there, mate.
I don't know, man. I could play Archon mode with Moose Kills. Dude, we click, man. Moose Kills introduced me to the Drake album, the Drake Future mixtape. I listened to it once. It was okay.
Sorry, guys. I'm not ignoring Fear Drake. Well, I am in a way, but I'm trying to fix the lobby because they messed it up.
Good.
Okay, is everyone ready to boogie?
Those who are wondering also, since I was talking about the races we're going to be seeing for this particular best of 3 is going to be a Protoss versus Zerg, with Kestrel and Moose Skills playing Zerg. And I know we talked a lot about Moose Skills. Moose Skills is a Zerg player, so this is definitely going to favor him a little bit. And Ace and, of course, his partner, who I just can't pronounce the name because it's
it is literally Korean symbols, I believe.
In game, it's Korean symbols. On the CSL website, it's DHWLDDJZJ. So I don't want to try and pronounce that one either. We're just gonna call it Team Ace +1, which I think is their official Archon mode team name, and they're gonna be playing Protoss. So got a good old PVZ on our hands over here, and I actually think that when I was taking a look, Ace was a Protoss player as well. I'm not too sure about the +1 over there. I think that his profile dictates that he plays Terran normally, but this could just be another example of, hey, you know, Terran player, Terrans are good at micro. Maybe he'll just do it in all the micro.
I feel like that's said with a little bit of spite, my Protoss co-caster friend.
I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not, but I'm not gonna say it is. There.
Alright, well, let's hop into the game. We got the load screen going here. That's why I'm gonna have to move the CSL logo. I can't do it till we're in game.
Well, one thing I like about Runes of Seras is the fact that it is not a map that existed in Heart of the Swarm. So you end up seeing kind of like, you can always, there's like those maps or like those particular matchups or situations where you can tell like, okay, you've just been playing Heart of the Swarm, you're just like trying to play Legacy of the Void. Like those kind of distinctions become really clear because players who haven't been playing Legacy of the Void are just unfamiliar with the map. And I always like those kinds of things because it really rewards the players that have been playing and practicing like the Legacy of the Void maps and situations.
Hey, Fear Drake, quick question. Before
up?
we get into this series, did you go to college or university?
I did. I went to Purdue University, who I am very, very upset with because they haven't been playing in their most recent season of CSLs.
Oh darn! I was gonna say, see if any of your, what's the word, alma mater people. I'm trying to fit in with America right here, guys.
Alumni.
Alumni. There you go. All right, alma mater. That's
Alma mater.
That's the actual university, right? I know terminology. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CSL cast. Super professional. You got Rifkin and Fear Dragon coming at you. Spawning here on the bottom left side of Runes of Saras, it's going to be the purple Zerg Archon, Moose Gills, and Kestrel.
And his opponent on the other side of the map is the red Protoss player and Archon, Ace, and +1.
It looks like a man lying sideways that has no legs.
I could see that. I mean, I was actually going to go for like the Pong symbol. Like it's one of those Pong balls.
Ah, that's actually a lot better in my opinion. Or like a guy's holding a shield and that's like a bomb coming his way, or a fireball or something.
Yeah, or it's just a clock.
All right, so we got 3 bases being taken pretty quick out of Team Zerg down here. There are some aspects of the game that really do translate well from 1v1s to Archon mode and vice versa, but one of the things that is kind of a little bit finicky right now is I would definitely argue that it's a lot scarier for Protoss in the early game now. They used to have ultimate control with the depths. They used to be able to do a ton of damage and have to worry very little about defense because Photon Overcharge, while is still really good, Lings tend to run past or taking on the pylons really quickly. Ravagers are one of the scariest things Protoss players are dealing with in the early game right now, and we'll see if Moose Skills and Kestrel decide to go that direction.
Yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about like that Protoss early game as well, but at the same time, in Archon mode, one of the biggest advantages you have is that you have that extra micro potential, and I think that Adepts still have that extra micro potential. So I wouldn't even be too surprised to still see an early Adept come out just to put on that early game harassment, right? Because otherwise it's like, what is that micro player really going to be doing? I mean, maybe they're just going to the bathroom, maybe they're just kind of chilling.
Well,
there's some Archon mode players that do that.
Well, yeah, guilty. Hello. Tab out. Do Twitter stuff. No, I agree. The control aspect's really funny. Kiwi Kaki is my favorite person to reference for this, because even when Adepts were in their absolute most broken form of the game, and it's worth noting for those who are watching, they've been toned down quite significantly over the last month. But even when Adepts were as broken as they possibly could be, you'd see players like Kiwi Kaki not have the damage or the tankiness be their strongest asset. It was the way he would use their psionic transfer ability to just trying to juke and jive past queens and defenses. We can actually see an example of that right now as the Shade comes out on the map.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing more examples of this as we have 2 more Adepts also lined up in the production line, and Zergling finally gets a scout out on this first Adept and is going to be queuing up a couple more Zerglings. I always actually wondered how Zerg players in Archon mode tend to deal with the production management, because you have 2 players and sometimes you have to actually request the other person, like, hey, I need you to stop making drones right now. You need to make more units, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to tell exactly how many units to make.
Yeah, a little bit of what we've seen actually is simply the micro player grabbing the hatcheries and saying, look, I'm just going to make units, and communicating that way. Drones being the only, I guess, point of contention, so to speak, but probably going to cancel this one. Yeah, just keep it for scouting. We do have Adept 2 and 3 on the way. The big thing about this is they do get an upgrade later on that makes them attack faster. It makes them much better against units that don't take the bonus damage. Queens, roaches, you name it. But early game like this, they still attack pretty slow. They just don't really have the damage to contest queens like this. Now, they'll take one on because it's wicked out of position, but, I mean, all she's got to do is fall back a bit.
Yeah, oh, Shay is being used, and actually it looks like they don't need it to clean up that queen, and hey, these Adepts are doing some really nice damage over here. Even with the loss of health that they got in the recent nerf, they're doing a really nice amount of damage. Just how many Zerglings they forced out has been working out really well.
Yeah, 40 drones isn't bad. Where we used to see 70 between 3 bases, it's a lot more commonly become like 52, 56 in Legacy of the Void. But I do like that they're moving the transition out towards roaches. Again, Lings can deal with the depths. Lings are actually exceptionally good against the depths when you have enough of them and there's not a wall for them to back against, but roaches are the absolute best because they turn into Ravagers later on too. They'll be able to be aggressive. They're going to catch the transfer if they try and escape, so these Adepts are probably going to die one way or the other. But it's funny to see so many Zerglings and no speed for your Dragon. Like, this is blowing my mind watching this.
You know, I feel like they thought that they could hold this off earlier on without speed. They thought that, you know, they got up to 4 or 5 queens, but they ended up just losing like one of the queens. Another queen gets very, very low on health, and look at this. Now we have the Warp Prism coming in with the Adepts. This is a tried and true legacy build.
It's not going to be so bad, though. A lot of the potency of this attack was nerfed in the most recent patch. One thing you guys saw there was it was no longer a 2-second warp in out of that Warp Prism. It's 5 seconds. Now, the bonus is that they don't take bonus damage like they used to while warping in, but still, nonetheless, this attack, it's meant to cull the workers. It's not actually meant to fight.
Yeah,
Counterattack of the slow lings, though.
The slow ling retreat, and I'm going to take a couple extra hits from that Photon Overcharge on the pylon. But the Warp Prism, I feel like this has already been doing the damage that it needs to do, though, right? Like, it's delayed so much mining with the worker pulls, it's killed off queens, there goes another queen, and really, at the end of the day, 6 Adepts lost. I mean, it's kind of starting to build up to be a lot more Adepts, but honestly, this is just a free reign for the Protoss player behind this.
It's not about the Adepts that have been lost or not. I mean, this is the nice thing about Archon mode. It opens up the opportunity to do crazy Warp Prism micro, to make every unit a blink unit, so to speak. The problem is more so that they didn't really cause enough economic damage. Moose Skills and Kestrel, they've lost a queen or two, and that sucks, but you know, the drone line's still strong, sitting on 56. They're making a ton of roaches right now. Not feeling too bad about Team Purple. Not at the moment.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair point. The one thing that they do have to be a little bit careful about is the eventual transition that's coming out as the Immortals start to pop out, and the Immortal count as it builds up.
So these aren't so bad anymore for roaches to deal with. They still hit like a truck ton. But for those who haven't been following Legacy of the Void, the Immortal no longer has the hard shield ability. Instead, it's got an on-active / auto-cast ability that soaks 200 damage. But that's great, but for 2 seconds. After that, roaches can focus it down, no problem.
Yeah, unfortunately losing a couple of the sentries over there, though, going to be a little bit unfortunate. Hey, you know what? Zerglings with speed, pretty gosh darn good, it turns out.
Yeah, finally getting a Metabolic boost, but also Galil Reconstitution, so going to be able to use any units they want right now. Would like to see some Ravagers come into effect, but this does go back to that question of, are these guys used to playing Legacy, or is this going to be a big Heart of the Swarm Fest on Legacy of the Void? And so far, it just seems to be pure roaches and nothing else. A couple Ravagers would be great. Not only do they help defend against the Adepts, but they'd be able to take some corrosive bile shots at that Warp Prism, knock it out of the sky.
Yeah, I'm wondering when are the Ravagers actually going to start popping out? I mean, just having a couple just adds so much more DPS as far as I'm aware. But oh, one Adept does end up going down. It's a little bit slow on the pickup.
That is a huge roach huddle. This is the first Ravager coming in.
Yeah, you know, I'm starting to get a little bit concerned over here for our Protoss players. Ooh. As they really just don't have a lot of defenses, but the Dark Shrine might actually just be the saving grace.
I'd say more so the Disruptor that's coming out next. That thing is really good at taking chunks away from an army. If you get 2 of those up in a choke, the defense is just fantastic.
I'd also say just the Warp Prism is doing so much because there are a solid, I want to say almost like 15 to 20 roaches that are just left at home trying to defend against the Warp Prism and the Adepts, and that means that they're not involved in this engagement over here.
But as we see, a corrosive bile goes off and pops off all the shields on the Immortal, so now they've got nothing left to protect them. However, the Force Fields are holding quite well here. Moose Skills and Kestrel are going to back away for just a moment. Dark Templar coming into the mix. I don't know if they've recognized this or not, but Team Red is not moving out of those corrosive biles. Your shots are getting fired, and the Immortals get focused down very quickly. But not realizing the Dark Templar problem only just now, and they're going to retreat. And Moose Skills, it's going to be a little bit sad he lost so much of that army, but they're still sitting on 98 army supply over the 46 of Team Red. DTs get to the main as well. No detection up here. No Overseers. There's 3 on the way, but they got to split and go 3 different directions.
This is super awkward. They even got the Warp Prism moving in again to the 3rd expansion, looking to see if it can do some extra damage. Unloads the DTs over there and kills off the Queen, going to be able to slice off a couple more units to just split up that DPS, and Warp Prism even saves that DT a little bit later on.
Alright, well, Protoss Army does clean up the roaches in midfield. These are kind of, again, exposed. There's no Overseer here to help. It's a lot of Overlords sitting there, too. These Stalkers could actually just get a lot of free kills if they'd like. They go for the Ravager shots. Here comes that Overseer. Dark Templar do go down. While this goes on, though, so many drones were lost to these DTs, to the Adept Warp in. So Moose Drones and Kestrel down to 29 workers.
Oh, God. And the DTs over in the center of the map actually pulled all 3 of the Overseers back all the way to the center of the map. And that meant that there were no Overseers left over to deal with the DT harassment coming in from the Warp Prism. That DT they got picked up earlier managed to get a couple extra kills, but at the same time, the Roach is trying to move in over here. Protoss players starting to lose the Immortals, gonna lose a lot of their firepower there, but it looks like they might still be able to hold on with a couple photon overcharges.
The photon overcharges deal 30 damage a shot. It's not hard to hold this location with the cannon there especially. They are going to hold, and the amount of economic damage they did behind all this was great enough that Team Protoss looks like they're probably going to take game number 1 at this rate.
I mean, it's looking really solid. They're almost sitting at double the supply. The War Prism is still harassing with the 2 Adepts and DT. He's actually trying to... He's gotten to the point where they're trying to snipe off those War Calls. GG gets called.
Team Ice. Ace plus China symbol guy. Take map number 1. Cool. All right. Well, do you know what... I think you were supposed to host second map, right?
I was... And I need to figure out, I think that it was Dash and Terminal for map number 2.
Cool beans. I've got to take the set off. I'm going to go crazy ahead of this. I put this thing on a Troll Fear Dragon, guys. I wasn't... And you may not have seen any of the pre-show, but mission accomplished. All right.
Oh, you. You do go to extreme lengths sometimes for the troll.
The troll. The end result is worth it if I can make a friend... frustrated and giggle. But they're saying Terraform is actually going to be next map.
Oh, Terraform. Okay. Go ahead and make that.
Terraform's kind of like the most standard map there is, so I'm not too surprised that that's the case.
So what do you feel like really went wrong for Moose Skills and plus some random guy, which is actually their team name, by the way. Not trying to be offensive.
I think the problem is they just haven't played enough Legacy. I'm talking with the next team on deck, by the way, and they've also said that they don't play a lot of Legacy either. So one of the issues just maybe they don't really know the strategies to go for. You know, you see that Warp Prism come in, and how do you deal with it? It's so fast, it picks things up a mile away. Later link speed. I mean, I have no idea how well acquainted everyone is with Legacy of the Void, but I'll tell you from the amount of pro matches we cast on the regular, that was not a great example of strategy. And I'm not trying to say this to be like super condescending and be like, huh, Rogan's better than all of these folks. But the reality is that felt like Team Zerg was playing Heart of the Swarm for a very long time. The faster third and all these things. It is worth noting, though, that faster thirds are going to be a lot more common in all matchups, even in ZVZ right now, because of the Larva Inject nerf. And just having that third hatchery up does help a ton with the Larva.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the like macro changes have really changed things around, and if they aren't used to them, that's going to be really, really annoying for them to try and get used to mid-match.
Oh, I forgot. I didn't open this bottle of water, Fear Dragon. I've actually got another bottle of water.
Oh, dude, I've got to say, I've been drinking coconut water instead of regular water.
Oh, how? Ew.
It's amazing.
No, it's disgusting.
You don't like coconut water?
Comes in those like ribbed cans? Gross.
What do you mean ripped cans?
Ribbed.
Like oh, ribbed. I don't know. I think it's pretty delicious.
I cannot stand it. I love coconuts. Don't get me wrong. I love coconut like buns and shit like that. But or stuff. Am I allowed to swear on this channel? I have no idea. They haven't briefed me. But anyways, I love coconuts, but I do not love coconut water. I have no love for coconut water in my heart at all.
Dude, coconut water is like a finely acquired taste, and once you get like a more premium coconut water,
wrong teams. Muscles and Kestrel. You swapped the wrong people.
Oh, whoops.
Nailed it.
Yeah, anyways, I totally remember what the teams were from the last game.
It's Muscles and some random guy. We've been over this.
I know, but when you say Muscles and some random guy, it's very easy to just forget which random guy.
Well, teams are ready. You guys hear the beeping. Let's hop back to the in-game screen. Or before we do, just a quick reminder that it's Wisconsin Madison versus Ryerson University. Kestrel Muscles versus Dehudjus and Ice.
Indeed. Terraform going to be the map. This is a map that the players might be a little bit more familiar with in terms of PvZ and all of that kind of stuff. So if they haven't been playing as much Legacy of the Void, they'll at least have a little bit more experience rather than, you know, Runes of Saras, a little bit harder if you haven't been playing a lot of Legacy of the Void.
Alright, so just swap things around. Alright, so kicking off map number 2 in this best of 3 in the top left corner of the map. It's going to be the purple Zerg players. Plural. Muscles and Kestrel.
And their opponents in the bottom right-hand corner, it is Ace +1.
Ace +1. This sounds like a base straight TV emote. Oops. I did all chat. Pardon me. Ignore.
Bye.
Good luck, have fun.
Dude, so smooth. Proof, guys, that this is a live series. Good luck, casters. You know what I really like about how that first game went? Even though I am a Moose Skills fan, you know what I really like about it? It's the fact that Moose Skills and his team ended up losing. Because we were talking about how he is in a lot of ways considered like a bit more of a higher level player. He's achieved a lot more in terms of Starcraft.
What is this strange bug?
What?
I
That's
don't know.
Zerg.
No.
Rifkin. This is.
I don't know if I just didn't notice this last game or not, but on the very rightmost side of the screen, it's trying to show abilities, like build and advanced and whatnot. I guess because I didn't have things selected, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm seeing that as.
Yeah, it just looks like what's happened is the command cards are bleeding over under where the space below was. I'll have to look into that. It's not intrusive at all unless you click on a unit, which usually we don't have selected anyways. It's just caught me off guard. I was like, what?
Actually, you know what I just realized? The Archon mode will just show the APM of both players combined, right?
Yeah, it averages it out, from what I understand. I don't know if that's actually true or not. That's just what I've heard.
It. Oh, that would actually be really...
So
interesting.
Crank and I tested this, and I basically did nothing for a game, and he did his normal APM, and it came out to like below average APM. So that's why our assumption is that it averages it. But that also could have been a bug. It was not a very large sample size to test at all.
Yeah, that's fair. So what do you think about this like low ground gateway expansion with a chrono boosted out really quickly zealot?
I think this is hugely risky and kind of insane, and if we had a Zerg player like True, for example, someone who likes to be really aggressive early on versus Protoss, you might have seen this get punished. But, you know, still third base on the way, and they are getting speed this time, which is nice.
Yeah, I kind of actually really like the Protoss opening just because I agree. I think that it is a very risky thing, but if you saw your opponents like open up very, very greedy, they went for the 3 hatch before pull in game number 1. And I say greedy not in the sense that, oh my god, look at how punishable this is, but just in the sense that it was a much more economic based opening. And they probably think like Moose Skills will feel more comfortable moving into the game.
Wouldn't it just be a much more economic based opening, not greedy?
It would. I see, that was my smooth way of correcting myself.
Oh, okay. Usually I like to just say, oops, I made a mistake, but, you know.
Man, casters never make mistakes. They only make things that need slight correction.
No, the only thing they make is magic. Missiles.
That's true.
Because they're casters. Alright, Zealot and Adept have found a really sweet spot to hide over here. Probe is like something straight out of the cinematic, but behind all of this, we have a Void Ray question mark on the way.
Oh, this could be cool.
Oh my god, it is actually the probe from the cinematic, The Legacy of the Void.
Wow. Couple of pylons going down. This is such a good pylon.
It's actually cannons back here?
On this Adept too.
Well, whatever you want to do is just move the warpins now. Mothership Core actually going to be able to photon overcharge these. Pardon me, I forgot you could do this. If this gets in range in time, that's a big if. That pylon's going to be dealing 30 damage a shot, and it's going to shred anything nearby. But looks like not going to be the case. Can't defend this. Mothership Core is on the way back home, but big props to Team Red for trying that move. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, did force out quite a few Zerglings. I mean, killed off 11, and they still got 21 still left on the map. Oh, those are going to be absolutely useless unless they can bust down this wall versus the Void Ray, which I think maybe I imagine it was going to go straight across the map and try and be a little bit sneaky, but it looks like he's going Overlord hunt. This is like straight out of 2011 Stargate openings from Protoss players. It's like make the one Void Ray, kill off a couple Overlords, and go across the map.
I mean, it's not a bad move because it's also going to take away all the vision of Moose Skills and Kestrel, which honestly they need. A big part of this game is if you don't know strategy, you definitely need to see what your opponent's doing and making.
Yeah, especially in Archon mode, right? Where like the meta game and the kind of builds that you can go for aren't quite as established. So you can't read into the small cues quite as easily as you would in, say, like a standard Heart of the Swarm game. But Oracle comes in now, starting to go after some of those drones and going to be able to kill off a couple. The Spore Goers have just absolutely not been started. This has been completely unscouted in the sense that like he saw the Void Ray, but I guess they didn't expect the Oracle follow-up.
The Oracle's got a very interesting role it plays now, with an additional ability called the Prismatic, Stasis Ward. Prismatic Alignment is totally different unit. That's the Void Ray. Stasis Ward will trap a lot of units, and the best part is it won't trap your own units. It only traps the enemy units. So if you don't actually use this for damage, you can use it to build defensive structures, essentially, as the game goes on.
Yeah, it can be pretty useful, and oh man, I love this. This is one thing I really like about the change where Photon Overcharge comes down on pylons instead of Nexus. It is so much easier to get up these third expansions versus a lot of Zerglings, because if you throw down Photon Overcharge on the pylon, unfortunately that's not quite enough for Team Ace +1. End up having canceled that third.
I like that that's just, we've just turned this into an AS +1. I'm just going Red Archon. That way I can't. I mean, I won't be in crate. We do have the Fleet Beacon on the way. Fleet Bacon going to be able to produce some yummy carriers. One of the things about these, though, that are so frustrating to deal with right now is a lot of Zerg players. There are some that have figured it out. Corruptors with really high upgrades take almost no damage from interceptors, and they can mow down carriers no problem. But that's when you start seeing things like Tempest and Void Rays get added in, and unfortunately, Corruptors aren't going to be the answer. Not going for Corruptors, though, instead just Mutalisks. This is an interesting choice, considering they already know that there is air available.
I wonder if they just, I mean, like, one Stargate, it's not necessarily enough to say, okay, guys, they're going for carriers. We need to prepare for carriers. So I think that they might just think, like, okay, there was, like, the one Void Ray and one Oracle Harassment. That was cute. Let's catch them off guard with the Mutalisk transition now. And I think that they are going to be the ones that are caught off guard very soon, as the carry number 1 is already on the way. It's actually already out now. Void Ray going to get picked off by the Mutalisk, but this could be a little bit scary depending on when they end up scouting out the carriers.
Maybe. The fact that this Phoenix and Indian Pulse Crystal is already being produced, though, not really an issue. In fact, completely canceling that carrier, by the way, to get the Phoenixes out. So really just getting the defense on lockdown. Of course, once you take care of the Mutalisk, Phoenixes still produce it fairly well later on. They can deal with the Hydralisk, they can pick up a lot of the army, but until we get to that point, it is really scary here for Team Red.
I really like the fact that they're still going for +1 air weapons, though, because not only is it going to be useful versus the Mutalisk, of course, but if they do decide to make that later game transition into carriers, it's going to be so strong.
Yeah, not wanting to go through those photon overcharges, and for good reason. Once again, reminding everybody, each of those pylons shoots for 30 damage a shot.
And Mothership Core can continue to throw those down at a whim, just because it is still a very cheap ability to throw down. It's only 25 energy. Ooh, like the Oracle buff. There's a transition out to the Roach Hydra play from the Mutalisk. So I mean, like, it is probably going to not going to be this hard transition into mass Mutalisks, especially after seeing that the Phoenix and everything were already ready. But how do you feel about just the Roach Hydra composition?
I like the Hydras because these are supposed to become lurkers, but again, that caveat being that they might not be super into Legacy of the Void tactics right now. And lurkers are just phenomenally good versus Protoss in a lot of different ways. But not even 3 or 4, just all Roach Hydra. This is a strategy that worked back in HOTS. You get some Vipers mixed into this, it still works in Legacy of the Void. Just, again, Ravagers are better than Roaches, Lurkers are better than Hydras. All things are quite expensive, but at the end of the day, this Zerg army almost triples the numbers of that of the Protoss. Yeah, so carriers be darned. Even the Muta's going to flock in and take them out. Not dumping the Interceptors, a brand new ability from the carriers that makes them so bloody good. So almost overpowered, some you could argue. By not using that ability really just limits the power of this carrier. So there's one single carrier trying desperately to defend.
Yeah, and for those who are wondering why that's the case, is because when you dump your Interceptors, it effectively becomes like 2 carriers, because you can continue to produce additional Interceptors. But this army is not going to wait around for any Interceptors to be produced. This army is charging into the 3rd expansion, and Ace+1 is going to lose a really important expansion and the game.
Yeah, good game. Team Mooskills Kestrel will tie it up 1-1 and take us to game number 3.
Keskills.
We don't really have sick ad break stuff, guys. We'll just throw up this scene here so you can keep an eye on who's playing what university and all that. Actually, let's look at what's up next. We have the San Jose State University versus the University of Washington. Zergol and SWS. 2 players I've actually cast before on my own channel. 2 players that have played competitively. And then Garage Door and Kixantrix. And I don't know either of those names, but I like the name Garage Door.
There's always those names that stick in your mind a little bit more. But yeah,
a little bit more, like the garage door.
Okay, we're not gonna start rhyming here, man.
In my brain, it does store.
Look. I don't know
All
if you
the
remember,
useless
but
info. It's like a chore. For sure.
Leave the rapping to Tempo.
You don't want any more?
Dude, I heard that Tempo wrote this really, really great rap for you.
This story is almost like lore.
Anyways, we're gonna be moving on
to verse number 4.
I can't.
Drop the bodies, hit the floor.
Oh my god. Okay.
For Dragon, I'm sore. Actually, were you weren't at the Ace Hotel with us, were you? No, damn it. So Tempo and I had a rhyming contest, and it ended up being like this cute little thing where we were just doing it for like 2 or 3 lines at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Then it turned into 30 minutes and it got really intense, and I won, and I felt really good about it because it's Tempo.
That's actually impressive. Tempo can just freestyle like an absolute madman. It doesn't actually make sense to me.
He's good at what he does, man. He's good at what he does. Anyways, looks like Moonlight Madness can be the 3rd and final map in this first best of 3 tonight. Mm-hmm. Speaking with the other team, by the way, looks like I was asking Zergo, are you and SWS going to play Zerg or Protoss? Because for those who don't know, SWS is Protoss, Zergo is Zerg, and they're going to open with Protoss, interestingly enough. Just a fun fact of what's to come. Invite me!
I did invite you, didn't I?
No, why are we not friends? I added you as a friend. Accept my request.
I had you as a friend.
Oh, we are friends.
Did you remove me as friend?
No, I didn't. It's not. I guess it just. Why did you make this with a mod? No, this is gonna break it. Leave.
It's gonna break.
That's what broke it, dude. You have to make a normal map. Mods don't really work on. That's why the extra things were coming up on the side, I think.
Okay.
So
we will remake it.
For those who know, sorry, to explain really quick here. Map mods, things like WCS Game Heart or Base Rate TV extension mods, those break a lot of features and overlays and UIs, and I think that may have been what the thing was last game.
That was probably it then. Okay. Go ahead and get that remade then.
Moonlight Madness.
Players.
Dude, No Regret has been doing this. I'm not going to say it. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But, like, he's been doing this really dirty trick on this map that I am absolutely in love with.
On Moonlight Madness?
Yeah. I'll tell you after the stream. But he's been doing some pretty dirty stuff. If you guys have been watching our stream, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I've been, like, disappointed with how few people see, like, in the games that I see at least, tend to actually go for those backdoor destructible rocks. I always feel like really disappointed at how few people actually do that.
All right, swap me for boom. All right.
Damn it.
Yes.
Why are there 2 Kestrels? Oh wait.
You invited kick Sandtrix.
Oh my god.
Kick him. Why are you making him an observer?
Just trying to move everyone to the right place.
The anxiety is getting to Fear Dragon, everybody.
I'm not good with lobbies, okay? APM isn't high enough for it.
Alright, both teams are ready. Let's hop into it.
Alright. Moonlight Madness, PvZ, and so like in that last game, I think the things that went better for Team Mooskills plus Kestrel was that they were getting more aggressive. Like in the other game, they never really had a big chance to get aggressive until like much later on. They'd already taken a significant amount of damage or already starting to take a lot of damage. So like I kind of want to just see them go and get more aggressive in this game too.
Well, maybe we can see it. Maybe we won't. Pressing all the wrong buttons, but there we go. Now we have all the stuff on the overlay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Archon Mode CSL matches. Spawning here on the bottom left. They've just recently been tied up 1-1. going to the ace match with the ace player for the teal Protoss, and of course his weird +1 friend.
And their opponents spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map. It's the purple Zerg players, Moose Gills and Kestrel.
Every time I say that, like, because I did their intros twice, it sounds like you're saying ancestral, right? Like, it's really weird.
Ancestral.
Like, it's Moose Kills and Kestrel. It's Moose Kills Ancestral. Moose Kills Ancestors. What? Moosey.
All right. Well, that is a very early probe and also a very early pylon.
Yeah, just blocking it out, but there's that back base to take here. So none too much stress. One of the downsides to taking this back base is you do have to worry about those rocks, and moreover warp prisms. A lot longer distance you're gonna have to get from this to this base opposed to down here to the ramp. So if there are warp prisms running around, queens are probably gonna struggle a little bit to catch up. It is worth noting though, once again, for those who have not been paying super close attention to Legacy of the Void, Creep has had quite the interesting, I'm going to say buff, but really it's just a change. Because it did come with a bit of a nerf too. Creep spreads incredibly fast now, but it also recedes much faster. So if you do put a tumor down, you can quickly get from base to base, but you don't see a lot of dedication to that right now. A lot of it goes into that queen inject issue, 3 larvae now instead of 4, and all that energy tends to just be focused on those injects.
Yeah, it can be really cool to see how that actually ends up playing out, especially on a map like Moonlight Madness, where I know there is so much pain in my heart whenever I play this map or whenever I look at this map, when there is an attack at your third base and you got your army, your natural expansion, just running back and forth between those two bases. It can be so annoying and difficult for Protoss players, Zerg players, Terran players, whatever race. So having that extra creep spread, making it a little bit easier to deal with that kind of early game harassment that might come out, it's pretty nice.
Alright, well the question comes down to strategy next. We did see in game 1, Team Protoss make really good use of the Warp Prism. The Adepts were annoying for sure, but you know, I think it's safe to say we can both agree, ultimately it was the Dark Templar that won that game, and most importantly, catching them off guard with the Dark Templar that won them the game. Maybe that first one was a warm-up for Moose Skills, or maybe he's being a bit of a showman. It is a bit funny because we've cast Moose Skills in WCS qualifiers, IM qualifiers. I know he's a good enough player that 1v1 in HOTS, he would never lose to anything like that. But again, maybe he's macro and relying on his teammate to feed him the information. Maybe he's micro and not relaying the information. I don't know. But I don't think we'll see that same mistake happen twice. Good control out of the drone, almost gets away.
Yeah.
Probe snuck in though. Did they not see that probe, Fear Dragon? He walked right across the creep.
Well, you know what? Sometimes when you have two people, you would think that you have 4 eyes, but actually you just have 2 eyes that assume that the other person is looking the right place.
It's such a weird way to say it, but I agree. Now this probe is not devastating. It hasn't put pylons down. There's nothing really dangerous coming of it yet, but if this really does not get contested later on or attended, this thing is going to possibly cause some really bad times.
There is definitely enough space in that little dark corner where there is no vision. A pylon can easily fit over there. In fact, imagine a Protoss army moves in over there, and then with the army over there, they start throwing down photon overcharges on that pylon and start doing the reinforcing warpins. That can be really, really scary to deal with for a Zerg player.
Oh, for sure. We are being asked which team is Washington. That's up next, folks. This is Madison and Ryerson.
Madison being Moose Gills, and of course his teammate Kestrel, aka some random kid, and Ace+1 being from Ryerson.
Yep. Now the back rocks are getting taken down, but in multiple manners. So, okay, Moose Gills is going to open a doorway towards the third, or I assume Moose Gills, pardon me. And these rocks are going to be torn down over here. With a pylon or 2 in the back as well, Photon Overcharge will defend against these lings, and unfortunately they're not going to find anything to kill. But the plus side is, now fully aware that the Protoss opponents are on 2 bases and not 3.
Yeah, scary moment over there for a second. It looked like that sentry may actually, or that wasn't a complete wall and the sentry was leaving a gap, but kind of interesting. We ended up seeing the Protoss players decide to sacrifice that probe that they had in the base a little bit earlier on. They scouted the lair tech timing, and they ended up scouting a little bit of the gas timing for Moose Gills and Kestrel, but I don't really think they got a whole lot. So Maybe they're just not as cheesy as I am. If I get a probe in my opponent's space, like my entire game plan revolves around that probe.
You start evolving and changing all the mechanics just because of like this one opportunity presents itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Creeping spray down here to block out this third. I mean, this third's not going to get taken for a while anyways. The rocks and the wall off will make sure of that. But Team Zerg wants to make sure that their opponent's staying on 2 bases. Now, 2-base Protoss has not changed a lot. They're still very dangerous. They're still very scary. But, back at home, dealing with the Warp Prism.
Yeah, Orta getting some really nice damage done with these 4 Adepts that haven't really taken any massive amounts of damage. Killing off 8 workers already. And I guess like the main thing that's important about this Warp Prism and the Adept harassment that is always there, people know it, but it doesn't always get stated, is just the fact that it keeps the Zerg player at home and forces them to commit units back at home. It forces them to invest into more units that can defend and keep those roaches. So this allows the Protoss player to get that 3rd expansion up to protect and play a little bit greedier than they normally would.
One of the major problems I'm seeing out of Team Purple Zerg, though, is they are not really focusing on this Warp Prism. The Queen's just kind of auto-attacking whatever it can. If the Warp Prism starts getting low, then this attack essentially stops. But as we see, and as I referenced before, a Warp Prism now pretty much turns all units into Ghetto Blink units. So you can pick them up from 6 yards away. It's so easy to save units like those Adepts. I will say, though, Team Protoss is getting pretty scary behind this. They're already on their way to Disruptors.
Yeah, not only that, I mean, we've got the massive tech advantage, I would say, for Team Protoss, but at the same time, they've also managed to kill off so many workers that it's now sitting 62 probes to 47 drones, and it's not like Moose Skills Kestrel has a Spire, like fast tech up into Vipers, or something crazy going on behind this. Like, they have just been sitting on Roaches and Ravagers. I'm really getting concerned for them.
So if this was a really early hit, Roaches and Ravagers, phenomenal. They're so good. They win games. But unfortunately, this is coming kind of late into the matchup, and Disruptors are a good way to deal with clumped up units like Roaches. We do have the Warp Prism still mucking around up here, and of course, it's just been wonderful. Good use. I'm not sure who's microing it, but they get some thumbs up because they've been getting quite the few drone kills and keeping the army at home, as you pointed out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a couple of Zerglings that managed to sneak their way over into the main base of Ace+1, but this Warp Prism is like the hero Warp Prism. If this Warp Prism was on Ire, I don't think that the Zerg even would have won the war. Protoss would still have Ire.
I don't think that's how that worked at all, True Dragon.
That's exactly how it worked, man.
No.
They just sent this Warp Prism to Char. Zerg would have been.
If this Warp Prism were on Ire, it would have picked up Tassadar out of the carrier as it started to crash. We'd still have Tassadar alive today.
Why didn't they have Warp Prism range?
Because shuttles were really cool, dude. That's why.
That's
okay,
true.
more Ravagers coming in here. Big Roach attack towards the back of the base. It was worth knowing they've got a huge supply lead. But defensive structures go up. Cannons of the Photon Overcharges get popped. Already taking out some of the Roaches. Disruptor shots going off, though. Going to catch a lot of that army in those 3 shots. Another one coming in through the backside. More Roaches do get killed in that time warp. He's got to be careful with these Disruptors, though. They're coming off cooldown in about 30 seconds, 20 seconds. I can't remember. Cooldown 8 seconds. There you go. But they've pretty much cleaned up the attack. And at like 300 with a lower number of army, takes on a very high supply army out of Team Zerg and just shuts this down. Oh my gosh.
I mean, if that wasn't enough, the salt in the wound is that the Warp Prism is still harassing with the Adepts during that engagement.
Gone from 15 to 27 workers killed so far. Just great use of Protoss mechanics here. And this isn't even a situation, and everyone who knows my casting and knows I'll be the first person to be like, that's some Protoss BS right there. That's not even the case. This was just well handled, good compositions, great positioning. That time warp was really cool to see. Very much intentionally locking those units in place just a little bit longer so the Disruptor could connect to it. It's already almost impossibly difficult to escape a Disruptor once it starts shooting its shot, but even more so when you're stuck in a time warp with a couple of force fields.
You know, one of my favorite things about how that haul played out is that the fact that we had micro over at the army engagement, but we also had micro with the Warp Prism and the Adepts killing off additional units. And it goes to show that sometimes, like, when you just say, okay, you're micro, I'm macro, you handle all of the micro and I'll handle all of the macro, that's going to limit yourself. And when you have that kind of split up where one player handles the engagement and the other player harasses, you have both players doing micro, sure, but you're accomplishing so much because of that. And it's really cool when players actually start to do those kinds of split ups of tasks. And that's when you start to see like the Archon teamwork. That's where it comes into play. And oh god, the DTs are back.
Sorry, I had a fly in front of my face because I was swatting at it, but there we go. DTs, yeah, they're gonna shred a lot of us here in the main. Once again, appears to have caught Team Purple off guard. There's a Spore Caller at the natural, and an Overseer coming in now, but
that lair
is in some troubles.
A couple of roaches are there. I mean, they're gonna be able to kill off a majority of these guys.
Oh, it picks up the Zealots instead of the DTs. That's a mistake.
Still, we cannot hold.
Actually, no, they changed that. That's no longer in the game, I think.
They changed it.
For the glory of battle, I think is what the new line is.
I was like, okay, look, calm down, son. We'll pick you up.
I actually think it's so cool that they did that. Obviously, they did not have the opportunity with Zerg. Zerg doesn't speak English, but that's kind of cool. Like, the whole expansion is about taking back Ire and Protoss righteousness and all that. So, like, you get these lines that are super patriotic for Protoss. It's so cool. But anyhow, back at home, it's not like they've got nothing. It's on the wrong side of the map, unfortunately. But there's Disruptors aplenty. There's lots of Immortals as well as the Archons in here. Basically, everything that's going to deal with the Roaches. If there was more Ravagers, I would honestly be more worried about the Protoss. But because it is primarily Roaches, it's probably not going to be too hard to hold.
I feel like this is going to be a last hurrah right now from Moose Skills and Kestrel. Unless they can make some magic happen over here. Oh, not! Ooh!
Good shot. For those who don't know, if you actually target down the Disruptor before its shot detonates, you'll actually completely nullify the shot. So if they had just dived in there, they very well may have actually killed that Disruptor and not taken any damage. But the recall is good, brings the whole army to this side of the base. They're going to chase this back down. And I mean, this supply advantage, I say with air quotes, is inflated Roaches. This is really not that crazy. Warp Prism still being masterfully controlled by whichever one of the players are using it. And because of this, it's been so much easier to defend and harass and just all these wonderful things going on right now, thanks to the beauty of Archon mode. Oh, Disruptor shot's gonna catch that Roach army there. The Ravagers go off too. Doesn't protect the Disruptors afterwards though. However, the Immortals will get into the mix. Ravager Crucibles do miss, but this army is just nothing that this Roach amount can contest. Archons aren't even involved with the fight, Beer Dragon.
They don't really need to be right now. Even though he does end up losing all those Disruptors, that is a little bit painful, but he just still has so many money value units. The Archons, the Immortals. He's still got that Warp Prism.
Oh, the pickup of the DT as well to get ahead of the Roaches. That was so sick.
Oh, this is just... It's all spiraling out of control. There's no better way to say it.
Yeah, Roaches aren't going to cut it here in this situation. And there's the tap out. GG.
Ace +1. Take it in the ace match.
That's going to be Ryerson University winning the very first ever CSL Archon mode game. Best of 3 hype.
Well, and just go again. It goes to show we were talking about how Moose Skills, really like a little bit more well-known player, has gotten some pretty decent accomplishments, at least as for a North American player. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. One player is not going to just completely carry the team. It's about team versus team effort, and that's what Archon mode's about.
Well, looks like we're not going to have to wait too long, guys. We're already in the second match. Runes of Saras. And it's going to be, let's swap out those graphics here on the second screen. Yoink! The San Jose State University, Zerg Girl and SWS, Swiss, against the University of Washington, Garage Door and Eccentrics.
So I have a little bit of a funny story about SWS, just in the sense that SWS has been on this CSGO train lately. He used to be this really great up-and-coming North American player, but lately I know he's kind of quasi-retired from professional StarCraft or semi-professional StarCraft, and he's just sort of been playing more for fun a little bit more. So it's going to be really cool to see how well he's actually going to be doing with this. Zergal, of course, I know is still playing StarCraft pretty actively, but as the name would imply, plays Zerg unless something has changed recently.
I have not put a cam screens back on because I got to go host real quick, guys.
Okay. Yeah, but I'm pretty interested to see how that's going to go. I'm not too familiar with the other team, University of Washington's Kexandor, is they are called on the CSL website. These two guys are both Terran players, Garage Door and Cathantrix, and they are actually sitting 2-0 from like in terms of CSL history. They are sitting 2-0 on the website, so they've both been doing relatively well for themselves in the small sample size of 2 games. But it's important to note that they're both Terran players, and I think that does provide a small little edge in terms of what you're capable of doing as a player. It's a little bit easier for you to do either the micro or the macro. Sometimes you need to pick up a little bit on the micro. And let me tell you something. As a player, Protoss player, when I had to play Terran, even if it's just the micro side, God, I'm absolutely terrible at it. Splitting up Marines or doing that any kind of extra Terran micro, it's a lot harder because it's not my like default race. So I always like to see those kind of pairings where it is like that. Well,
so to explain really quick, guys, the other team are idiots, frankly. And they called wrong match, wrong map, wrong map, and then it's like, oops, this is actually the right map. So,
okie dokie.
All right. Okay,
Well,
so is everyone ready?
All right. Well, they're arguing over colors.
I don't care.
Regardless, we are going to be getting started pretty soon. Zergirl and SWS versus Cathantrix and Cathantrix. They both have the name Cathantrix. Am I misreading
It is
this?
Garage Door and Cantrix, or
I know,
Kixantrix.
but I can't tell which one is Garage Door. They've closed the gates. I can't see.
Who has a gate to the garage?
Wait, what? What do you mean? Who has a gate to the garage?
I feel like you're trying to make a pun there, but it doesn't work,
the
mate.
The garage door is the gate.
Big Dragon, we're like an hour into this and I didn't hate you. Don't ruin that, okay?
Okay.
You're doing so well, mate.
Let's go to the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the CSL cast. It's a different but a brand new but still a best of 3 Archon mode match currently going on. Spawning here on the upper right side of the map. Playing for the University of Washington. It's going to be the light blue Terran players Garage Door and Kixantrix. Political humor!
Lining up in the top left-hand corner of the map is the pink Protoss players, Zergirl and SWS, also known as the Jimmy Rustlers. That is actually their name, their Archon mode name on the CSL website.
So Fear Dragon, really quick, you want to explain why these shots are being fired in particular tonight?
There is actually the Democratic debate going on tonight, so if you guys are not gonna...
If you guys are watching this, you don't care enough about your own country, stop watching and go vote.
Or, you know, they could be Canadians in the audience.
Hype!
As a Canadian yourself, I'm surprised that you forgot about that possibility.
Actually, Canadians were supposed to vote recently too. I forgot.
Glad you remembered.
They make it so difficult. Like they used to do it where you just go down to the school, right, and you put your vote in, and you're easy peasy done. Get in, get out. Now you have to like bring your passport and verify your citizenship and all this other dumb stuff. I'm just like, hello, do you want me to vote or not? This is too complicated. This is how we end up with Stephen Harper for 5+ years.
You know, they should make it so that, like, whenever you watch the Democratic or, like, the Republican debates or whatever debates, you earn a form of fake currency. Maybe let's pretend and we'll call
Once every 5 minutes?
Once every 5 minutes. Oh my god, that probe just died to the SCV!
Okay.
I'm sorry, I need to interrupt my joke and say, like, that shouldn't be happening in an Archon mode match, right?
I think the reason they did that is what they were waiting to see if it was going to be a Reaper or Marine. It's actually really unconventional of Reapers on this map. For those who don't know really quick, Rinsus Ross, Legacy, the Void only map, you actually can't jump up any cliff face here to get to the main. You can only walk up the ramp. So if it's Marines, you don't really have to worry about anything. If it's a Reaper, you're going to have to dance around a little bit, as we see the Mothership Pro only just now coming out. Reapers also have this awesome grenade ability we might see in action here. There we go. Poof.
One of those probes is actually so low that it would even die to the grenade ability if he decides to throw it down on that probe, but probe is currently sitting idle and going to be regenerating some health. Here comes in.
And this Reaper should die. Stalker, not quite going to be paying attention. Should have got that second shot off. Not a huge deal, but this will let the Reaper escape. Now, there are ways to play mech versus Protoss right now. Lily Canines actually showed us this recently as well, going to air transitions and all that good stuff. But for the most part, I'm not surprised to see Bio coming out of these guys. Bio's the easiest to play by far. It's had a couple of weird tweaks to it. Ghosts are really fast now, which is great. So EMP's better than ever, all that good stuff. But I know, at the end of the day, it's still going to be Marines, Marauders, Medevacs, your typical bread and butter for Terran.
Yeah, for a second there, you had me worried. I thought you were going to pull like an Apollo. He's throwing down 2 additional barracks. He's going to 3 barracks. He's going mech. But, yeah. Wait, you were watching Starcraft around that time, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Reaper
I'm
coming
just giggling
in
because of the reference is so, like...
super old, man.
Yeah.
The original Apollo reference. Hey, he gets that probe kill.
Hype! Actually, this also forced a lot of probes off mine. Again, this is another thing that surprises me. You've got SWS, who was, I guess, question mark, a WCS class player, and Zergirl, who is not bad. We've cast a couple of show matches with her. She won. Like, she does play Zerg, though, admittedly, guys, not Protoss, so that may be where some of the shakiness is coming in. I don't know who's macroing, I don't know who's microing, but I do know that Team Protoss is in for some trouble here with this push.
Ooh, yeah. Widowmine actually getting a little bit ahead of the Stalker over here. Going to make it very awkward. Stalker can't actually even focus or turn around and fight a little bit, but Fortune Overcharge at least going to delay this push for a little bit, but Fortune Overcharge does not last very long.
That's also not how you need to use it anymore. They say you would use the old Overcharge on the Nexus, just to use it because this range would zone everything out. You actually want to bait everything in so it dies on its way out, but the Overcharge only costs 25 energy. It's pretty easy to spam, so misusing quote-unquote 1 or 2 is really not an issue. And it's doing its job. It is keeping the Marines back, but only for a little bit. We got that drop heading towards the main, and there's still nothing here to really play with. There's no Adepts. There's barely any Stalkers in play. I don't know what they're doing, but they need to get their production going, because waiting for that Robo is not going to get them in this game. In fact, they might lose this game to it. Widowmine's going to scumbag some of the Marines, but the probes aren't being pulled. Everything's being distracted here in the main. And lots of probes are going down there in the natural base. Up to 18 workers killed so far, in fact.
Oh, God. I don't think that they realize the Marines are already still in the mineral line over there. A lot of the main base. I mean, there's also no mining going on right now, so they can't even warp in additional reinforcements. Any units that they lose? Oh, like that?
Kills the one observer. No detection. No new observer on the way. Oh, there we go. It just starts up. But still... This is, I would say, game over already. This is too much damage done. The Widowmines are still in place on the mineral lines. Marines cleaned up that second natural base, no problemo. And behind this, Stim wasn't even finished. Stim's just now getting finished.
Oh, God. Finally, a couple of the Stalkers are going to pick off some of these Marines, but oh, no.
We actually, for a moment there, just saw a small issue with what is Archon Micro. Both players are trying to control the Marines, so they're stuttering all over the place awkwardly. Stim is done. They're going to pick off these Stalkers, though, and that's going to be it for Team Pink Protoss. That Widowmine in the main looks like it did get cleaned up, but still left with barely 16 workers to play with. That's going to be game.
Yeah, GG gets called by both teams, and the Marines are going to be able to just chase that motion core down. Will they be able to get it before the game ends?
It's going to be close. Spirit Dragon. There we go.
GG.
All right, University of Washington is going to take game number 1.
You know why they're both named Kiksa? Because they're kicksing their opponent out of the game. No, I'm going to stop that joke. That was a failure. Anyways. Don't give me that look. Don't judge me. I tried. So, game number 2.
We're going to have cards on the table here, guys. Again, I was talking about it beforehand. They didn't really know what they're doing. They've said they haven't played a lot of Legacy either, and that's a bit unfortunate, because Archon mode, I feel, has a lot of fun factors to it. Like, honestly, if you're even a little bit interested in StarCraft, not even a pro player, like, you should be trying out Archon mode. It makes the game so much more enjoyable, and you can get really good with it. But I'll leave it to you to figure out what map number 2 is. We're just going to throw up the between game screens here, guys, and we'll see you all in a few seconds, a few moments.
All right, all set. Mm.
Alright, folks, sorry about that. I had to fix some things on my end, but we are back in action. It's going to be Bridgehead for map number 2, as we can see. Loading in here right now. And spawning on the rightmost side of the map, landing exactly where we were looking. It's going to be the University of Washington Terran Team, Garage Door, and Kixantrix.
And their opponent on the left-hand side of the map is the Protoss players Zergirl and SWS, the Jimmy Rustlers.
I love how they have Zerg as the first part of their name, but they are playing Protoss.
Yeah, I know, right? For anyone who is tuning into Starcraft for the first time, yeah, they are not wrestling too many Jimmys after that Hillary Clinton comment.
So
also well for them in game number 1.
So one thing I just want to give my opinion on before we get too far into the match here is I've played a lot of Archon mode match on Base 3 TV. We've probably cast the most Archon mode matches of anybody, and one thing we've seen kind of be true is that the race picked tends not to be the macro players race, but more the less skilled players race, because it brings them closer to an even footing. What I do wonder and worry about is, let's say for example SWS says, alright Zergirl, look, I know you don't know how to micro these units, I know you don't know how force fields work, let me micro you macro. You get situations where you don't have any stalkers, you have no adepts, you have no way to defend against the smallest Terran push. Or vice versa, it's the other way around, where SWS is here. You should be able to defend with these 2 units early on and not need more so I can macro. But because maybe Zergirl's not familiar with the race, you have these issues. I'm not putting blame here for anybody. Yeah. I'm just saying this is a situation where that game did feel unrefined, it felt uncomfortable, and it definitely felt like they didn't quite have an idea of what they wanted to do. Again, just seeing a Zealot instead of an Adept is really odd. It's really odd.
Yeah, I'm almost kind of wondering if along that line of thought, maybe Zergirl, because again, I was going back to the CSGO playing of SWS. I wonder if Zergirl is just a little bit more experienced in Legacy of the Void. And so in that same way, not necessarily in terms of pure like skill level, in terms of Zergirl has achieved like WCS level status, but SWS just isn't as familiar with Legacy of the Void, so they're playing Protoss so that there's at least a little bit more familiarity for him.
Maybe. Either way, regardless of what came down for the decision making on the race, that first game was just very one-sided.
Yeah. Well,
wow.
We have another opportunity to try and make things right as Reaper coming in, and you know, this is the thing. Making the early Zealots in Heart of the Swarm, it was also a bit of a problematic thing, because exactly this would happen minus the grenades. Yeah. You honestly didn't need the grenades to clean up the Zealot with a Reaper.
The other thing, too, I don't like about the soccer is the Adept is so much more effective in the early game, and it's much cheaper as well. 100 minerals and 25 gas. It's nothing. So the Stalker takes longer to build. It gets out here later. The Mothership Core is still not done. This Reaper's probably going to get a probe kill, maybe. And there's 1. Throw another grenade in there would be really annoying. Gets 2.
Ooh. Might even get a 3rd. There's a very low health probe in there. Reaper going to back up, though. Going to scout for the Nexus, which I think is a solid plan.
Game paused.
Bit of a pause coming down here. They might be trying to sort out what's going on. There was an instance where we were casting Tefl versus Tamikis, 2 professional Zerg players in the early stages of the beta in one of the first ever Archon mode tournaments, and there was a pause that came down, not because there's any hardware malfunction, yeah, but they literally were typing game. We're arguing over who's microing and who's macroing, and you have SWS and Zergo, and they're not on a call. There could be some arguments, some fighting. I mean, it's worth noting behind this, they were setting up for a bust. They were going cheese behind this, but they're already taking a lot of damage from this Reaper.
Yeah, and I think like on top of that, now with the Reaper that moves in and sees that there's no natural expansion.
Oh, there you go. See?
Yeah. Of course, this has that extra level of complexity of, oh, so many things that can go wrong now because Skype is involved. But, you know, with the Reaper scouting out that there's no natural expansion, he scouts out the 2 gas guys. That's going to already be a good reveal of like, okay, look, you could probably have had down your tech already by now if you're just staying one base. Like, where is your tech? I don't know if they'd be anticipating an immortal bust, though. Like, I think that's going to be much less likely to be guessed.
So the funny change about the immortal, right? The hardened shields were much better against Marauders, but obviously did nothing against Marines. Their new barrier ability actually makes them better versus units overall, but much worse versus the units that were affected most by hardened shields. So, can be kind of cool to see if that comes into play or not. I mean, it's worth noting the Adept's damage did not get tweaked. It's still the same bonus, the same regular, just the shields mostly changed.
Yeah, I especially like what you were just saying about the Marines versus Marauders thing and how Immortals are a little bit better against Marines, because you think about like what might they think that is actually coming out, or what kind of tech is usually hidden. Well, oftentimes it's either Oracles or maybe like a Dark Shrine or something like that. And against at least Oracles, you tend to just try and pump out as many Marines as possible earlier on. And then you start thinking about getting on like the tech labs, etc., and preparing for that kind of later game stuff. But if they're just going to make Marines, this could potentially still work out well for Team Jimmy Rustlers. If they can, you know, fix up Skype and everything.
Yeah, hopefully the rest of the world figures out how Zoom works at some point.
I know, right? Zoom is, it's breath of fresh air in the world of Skype.
Yeah, we're at TwitchCon, guys. Rifkin took a picture and knocked down. I knocked down a chair in the Skype booth, and I took a picture of it.
Didn't we try and do a Skype call with a couple of people immediately after, like, TwitchCon, and everything was just breaking with Skype?
So I think that had more to do with Korea than anything else.
No, I'm pretty sure it's because you knocked over the chair.
Oh, maybe.
Pretty sure they were getting back at you. Oh.
A little bit of joking going on here, but in all seriousness, they should have asked if they were ready, but
yeah. Well, the Reaper ends up going down. It managed to kill off one additional worker, but
it did something very important though, and it scouted that there was no tech in the base and no natural base down. So this bunker coming at the back, this isn't quite so blind. This is, I know something's coming, I just don't know what it is. Language, children.
This is going to be very interesting. Like, the Immortal's going to be busting down this wall in, but yeah, Team Kixa should be able to see this immediately. The stalkers.
So I know you're trying to ignore it, but if he's having glitchy problems, this is actually quite terrible. This is unfortunate.
Yeah.
They just popped the Immortal Barrier ability.
The barrier ability? Yeah.
Or she. I don't know which.
Here, they activated the barrier ability. It's a team effort. I think gets put on both, but yeah, exactly. Like, the bunkers are already being thrown down. Sure, Immortals are great versus bunkers, but the Terran players are getting so much time to prepare for this. They just immediately pull all the workers, and they should actually be okay against this because they have so much time to get these bunkers up.
I mean, the photon overcharge was kind of a cool idea to bring into this, but it's not going to reach anything where the pylon currently is. SWS is just going to leave the game, leaving Zerg Girl to do it herself with a race she's unfamiliar with. Good game's going to get called, and yeah, we'll call that one the 2-0.
Well, I've got at least I mean, there was some unfortunate things going on for Team Zerg Girl SWS, but I've got to hand it to Team Cathantrix plus what was it, Garage
Door. Yeah.
They still had some pretty cool stuff, and I really enjoyed like the Reaper harassment that they were doing. They were definitely doing a really nice job with it, and honestly, like the setup in game number 1 with the Widow Mine drops, like the well-coordinated damage to the main base, the natural expansion, and just like the poking, they did everything right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they didn't. The thing is, like, they also didn't do anything crazy is the problem though too, right? So, I mean, good job to Team University of Washington, but we'll see how they fare in the later stages of CSL. But yeah, so 2-0, and it looks like that's gonna wrap it up for tonight. So 2 best of 3s done, nailed it. A little unfortunate for Team San Jose, but oh well, things happen. It's quite unfortunate. I would like to thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the CSL cast. Zomgrub and I will be doing this usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. Wonderful guy Fear Dragon over here, because a mirror on the webcam. There we go. Filling in tonight because Zomgrub still recovering from Korea trip and getting back home and all that good stuff. So thank you Fear Dragon for joining me tonight, man.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure, and it's nice to see some of the, I did some CSL casting last season and everything, so it's nice to see a little bit more of these teams and the players, and hopefully they'll get their Archon mode teams together and I don't know actually if we'll end up seeing some cool Archon mode games in the future of CSL. Hopefully.
All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure to follow the channel if you enjoyed this. It's gonna get renamed from what I understand in the future. I know it says CSLOL right now, and that's confusing watching Starcraft, but yeah, don't worry. Near future, there should be a Starcraft 2 channel, which is cool beans. So guys, thanks for